Throughout history, racism has been present in almost every part of society. Although progression has occurred, people of color are still fighting for equality till this day. Racism is a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. John Greenberg created the analogy, think of racism as a gigantic societal-sized boot. In a study conducted by Greenberg, participants came to the understanding that those that are wearing the boot are white people. He says if that's true, then whose responsibility is it to stop the boot from squashing them? The people of color pushing upward and resisting the boot, or the people wearing the boot consciously or not who contribute to a system that pushes downward? It makes an interesting point in how everyone has a role in ending racism and how it should start with white America by playing a bigger role in removing their boot. In order to understand racism in its entirety, we must acknowledge the events from the past and make our way forward. People of color are aware of many horrid events that have happened in the past, but are we aware in depth of what truly took place? The history of lynching in America, for example, tends to focus on the murder of African Americans. Sadly, they are not the only ones, and other groups such as Latinos, Native Americans, and Asians were also targeted. There are findings of 352 executions and lynchings of different people of color in California alone. The documentation was erased from history and later discovered, helping in correcting the historical record. It helps in broadening our minds and our knowledge in knowing that different groups of people, not just African Americans, have fallen victim to this discriminatory act. Different forms of racism and discrimination occur all around the world. Chicago is just one of the several locations where people face discrimination. Kari Lydersen stated that there are employment agencies who target vulnerable Latino workers and place them with restaurant employers who exploit them. These agencies unfairly target workers who are undocumented and give no benefits, no paid vacation days, or compensation for being injured on the job. The working conditions are only the tip of the iceberg, as these workers are living on the streets homeless. People of color are treated poorly, and in order to create change, others should become aware that events like these really do happen. Some laws have been put in place in order to help the fight against racism, but not all are in favor. In Arizona, a law was passed to ban a Mexican American studies curriculum in Tucson's public schools. A federal appeals court ordered a trial to assess whether it intentionally discriminates against Hispanics. Arizona claimed that the law was not intended to discriminate against Latino students, even though the course's majority were Latino. In 2017, a year later, it was ruled unconstitutional. This event sparked conversation on whether the ethnic studies should still be taught in schools, with many teachers agreeing that these courses give students a pathway to break the cycles of poverty, violence, and incarceration that so many communities of color still face today. Many experiences can be connected to larger issues through these courses, and this simple discriminatory law helped the education system by enforcing that students of color should be allowed to learn about their past. As I've said before, many laws are not often in favor of people of color, yet it does not stop them from making their dreams come true. Several people of color are not allowed to move up the social ladder in America due to their legal status. Although some are deported, people have willingly moved back to their home country and have managed to make a name for themselves even when all odds are stacked against them. 500,000 people aged from 18 to 35 have returned to Mexico since 2005 after spending a significant amount of time in the U.S. Latinos realize that they have done everything right and they still couldn't take advantage of that sort of mythical American dream because no laws at the time benefited them. 2 years later, the Obama administration announced an immigration program that gave young people work permits and a reprieve from deportation.
Barack Obama's program called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA.
It is the right thing to do.
Then current U.S. President Donald Trump effectively ended the DACA program by executive order. But then the U.S. Supreme Court effectively blocked Trump's decision, granting DACA recipients a reprieve from possible deportation.
Discrimination and racism doesn't stop everyone, but it does make it harder for people of color to get the quality they deserve. Racism and discrimination will continue to happen, but it takes us to help push back that weighing boot